everyone, and good morning. It is very like moist outside, and the fire my mom started with boxes. But anyways, I was reading in Isaiah 28 this morning, and I got a revelation about one thing in it. So the Lord is telling the people that like they're sinning and stuff, and that they're drinking intoxicating drink. The prophets and priests are drinking intoxicating drink, and the tables are full of vomit and filth. No place is clean. And they're saying, whom will he, talking about the Lord, whom will he teach knowledge, and whom will he make to understand the message? Those just weaned from milk? Those just drawn from the breasts? For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little, there a little. And so what that was is the people complaining that the Lord tells them things as if they're little children and little babies just weaned from their mother's milk. He tells them things over and over again, line upon line, precept upon precept. And I realized, well, it's because, first of all, they're not listening to what he tells them to do, so of course he's going to tell them to do it over and over again. And second of all, they're separating themselves from God through sin. So he has to, yes, they are babies just weaned from their mother's milk, because they're still separating themselves from God through intoxicating drink, and they err in vision, and they err in judgment, and they won't do what the Lord tells them, and then they complain that he tells them to do the same thing over and over again, but they won't do it. The second part of that was Isaiah 28, 23 through 29, which says, listen to the teaching of God. Give ear and hear my voice. Listen and hear my speech. Does the plowman keep plowing all day to sow? Does he keep turning his soil and breaking the clods? When he has leveled its surface, does he not sow the black cumin and scatter the cumin, plant the wheat in rows, the barley in the appointed place, and the spelt in its place? My hair. For he instructs him in right judgment. His God teaches him. For the black cumin is not threshed with a threshing sledge, nor is a cartwheel rolled over the cumin, but the black cumin is beaten out with a stick, and the cumin with a rod. Bread flour must be ground. Therefore he does not thresh it forever, break it with his cartwheel, or crush it with his horsemen. This also comes from the Lord of hosts, who is wonderful in counsel and excellent in guidance. So I realized it's saying that each crop, I guess you would say, is done differently. Like the black cumin, it's not rolled over with a cartwheel or threshed with a threshing sledge, but it's beaten out with a stick. And then the bread flour must be ground, and it doesn't take long to get it ground, so he doesn't sit there and grind it forever. Each thing is done differently. Each different thing is done differently. It's like Moses, who was leading the Israelites out of Egypt in the wilderness. The Lord told Moses to hit a rock the first time to make water come out, and then a second time later down the road he told him to speak to the rock to make water come out. And Moses hit it, but he shouldn't have, because he was probably like, well, I hit it the first time, why can't I hit it the second time? Well, probably because the second time Moses was farther along in his walk with the Lord, and he needed to trust the Lord more by speaking to it, because that takes more faith to expect water to come out of a rock when you speak to it rather than hitting it, because when you hit it, it might have been your own strength. You might have hit a weak spot and the water could have come out by you and not by the Lord. But when you speak to the rock, that is supernatural, and that was definitely by God, so it takes more faith. So it makes sense the second time why he would have to speak to the rock, not only for his own faith, but for the faith of the people to see that, wow, the Lord God is really real. That was not Moses this time. They know for sure that was not Moses. So it may seem the Lord is telling you things over and over again, and you feel like you're not getting anything new. Well, that probably is because you haven't done what he's told you to do yet. And then if you feel like or it could be that you asked for wisdom and he gave it to you, but you doubted it, and you're like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. And the Bible says, let not that man think that he will receive anything from the Lord. And I've done that before too, but it's not a happy thing to do, because when you do that, then you never get anything accomplished, because you doubt the Lord, and so you don't do what he says. So if whoever lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all men liberally without reproach, and it shall be given to him, with no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. Let not that man think that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. So if you want to receive wisdom from the Lord on what to do, ask him for wisdom. But once he gives it to you, don't doubt. And be firm. Be like, okay, this is what the Lord said, I'm doing it. Do it right away. Just go. And then if you feel like, why is he telling me to do it this way when I did it this way last time? Or why is he having me do things differently than all the amazing ministers in the world? Well, because the plan he has for your life is different from those amazing ministers. It's different, and it's unique, and it's special, and it's for you. And I hope you can take me seriously with my hair, but morning hair. So just be encouraged that the plan God has for your life is different and unique. That's something I've struggled with, like wondering, how on earth is my life going to play out? Well, you know what? That's part of the mystery in following God. And I realized that if God showed me everything he had for my life, every plan he had, I would get overwhelmed. But he's smart. He is wonderful in counsel and excellent in guidance. He knows that if he showed you everything he had for your life, you would get overwhelmed. So he gives you one little step at a time. So he'll give you step number 1, but if you don't do step number 1, he can't give you step number 2, because that's too big of a jump. So he tells you step number 1, and he tells you to do it over and over again. And he doesn't, it seems like he's telling you to do it over and over again, because until you do step number 1, he can't give you step number 2. So each little step at a time, little by little, they inherited the promised land. So little by little, don't despise small beginnings. One of the little things I've done is go out every morning and read my Bible. In that moment, in that one morning, to go out and read a chapter in the Bible, it doesn't seem like very much. But as the days go by, as the weeks go by, as the months go by, and you do that consistently, then as the year goes by, wow, you have read a lot of the Bible and you have grown a lot in wisdom. So really, each little step at a time is how you don't get overwhelmed and how you learn a lot, a little at a time, over time, and you learn a little by little, and a great oak tree, it doesn't grow in one day. It grows a little, you can barely even see it, but one day you'll see that it went from a seed like this to a huge oak tree. But it took time. It took a lot of time. And because it took a lot of time, it grew stronger. And if you read the Bible, if you abide in Jesus and he abides in you, you will bear much fruit, for without him you can do nothing. But if you don't abide in him, your tree won't bear much fruit. How you abide in him is by loving him. How do you love him? By obeying him. How do you find out what he wants you to do? By reading the Bible, by praying, and by doing what he tells you to do. Be open, be listening, and you will hear from him. And also, don't separate yourself from him through sin. Because sin is just missing the mark. It's separating yourself from God. So if you are sinning and you don't want to stop sinning, of course, all have fallen short of the glory of God, and the righteous man falls 7 times. But what I'm talking about is when a person sins and they know they're sinning, but they keep doing it and they don't try to get better. The righteous man sins, and he may keep doing it, but he tries to get better, and he gets back up. And so that's what people need to do who are, if they can't hear from God, it might be because sin is separating them from him. And following Jesus is getting better each day, day by day, day by day. And it doesn't all happen overnight. But just as long as you're making progress and you're trying to get better and you're seeking the Lord, then the things you get tempted with will get better and better. Like instead of being tempted to steal from a store, you'll be tempted to eat too much donuts. Then you'll be tempted to have fear of man, which is caring what people think. And you'll just get better and better and better. The path of the righteous grows brighter and brighter, even to the full light of day. So if you keep striving after the Lord, the things that you fall in will get better and better. Not that any sin is good. All sin is the same to God, and all sin would send every person to hell. Like the person who lied would go to hell just as much as the person who murdered somebody. But instead of being tempted to rob a store, you will be tempted to eat too much donuts. So it's like you get better and better and better by little steps at a time. And you have to realize that it's growing slow like an oak tree. And if you abide in him, you will bear good fruit. Because a good tree bears good fruit, and a bad tree bears bad fruit. So you will know them by their fruits. You will know by your fruits if you're doing the right thing. If you're bearing good fruit, then you're abiding in the vine. If you're bearing bad fruit all the time, then you're not. So I just wanted to encourage you with that this morning, that everybody's life, the plan God has for everyone is different. And he will tell you to do it differently each time. Just know that there's a reason for it. It's not for no reason. It's just like black cumin is beaten instead of threshed. In the same way that bread flour is not beaten too long because it is ground easily. So everything is done differently, and that applies to our lives. So I just wanted to encourage you with that, and have a wonderful day.